Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I hope you all had a very happy holidays. And in today's video, what I'm going to be doing is going over my top 5 games that I played this year. Now, I know what that sounds like. It sounds like my top 5 games of the year, but I can assure you that's not the case. In fact, what this is my top 5 games that I played this year. So, whether it came out in 2021 or 2001, it doesn't matter. It could be in this video. So I figured that this would be something fun to do to end off the year on a good note on the channel, and I got a nice idea for my next video to start the year on the channel. So that being said, let's get right into the video. But before I get started, I want to give some shout outs to a few honorable mentions for this list. And my honorable mentions for the most part will be games that I've thoroughly enjoyed, but I just haven't beaten yet. And in the case of this first game, it's not due to anything other than wanting to wait for the Xbox release. And of course, I'm talking about Deathloop. This game feels like the Arcane formula perfected, yet it's doing something completely new for Arcane. I mean, you could technically call it a roguelike, but it's much more forgiving than your traditional roguelike in that you get 3 chances to finish the loop each day. If you die 3 times during a loop, then the loop resets itself and you start the day over. And there's 4 different areas on the map, and because there's 7 visionaries that you have to kill to break the loop, then that means the game forces you to get really creative and think outside the box. For example, is there a way you can get 2 visionaries at once in one area at one time of the day? Or can you set something up to take out a visionary in one area later in the day while you're in another area taking out a different visionary? It's a concept I wasn't really sold on at first, but the more I saw of it leading up to launch and now finally playing it myself, it's actually a really cool concept. And I definitely recommend the game to anyone with a PS5 or a capable enough gaming PC to handle it. And if you're primarily an Xbox gamer like myself, perhaps you prefer to wait until it hits Game Pass later next September, and that's perfectly fine as well. And for my next honorable mention, I've got to talk at least a little bit about Kane: Bridge of Spirits, because this is a game that I've been hyped for ever since its first reveal, and what I ended up getting wasn't even close to what I expected. I mean, the trailers we saw kind of showed us a very happy, easygoing, peaceful game with this incredible looking Pixar-esque animation style, but the actual game turned out to be much darker and much more serious, and it actually offers some incredibly challenging combat, and it does all of this while still delivering that Pixar level visual quality. But I think the thing that makes this game even more mesmerizing is the fact that this is the studio's first time ever making a video game. They've never done this before, and to make something of this quality on their first attempt is something that deserves to be both commended and respected. But that does it for my honorable mentions, and with those out of the way, we can get started on the true top 5 games that I've played this year. And since this is going in order from number 5 all the way to number 1, I'm gonna start with Dishonored: Death of the Outsider. And guys, I realize I'm late to this. I already played the original Dishonored way back in like 2014, 2015, and its DLCs, as well as Dishonored 2 at its release. But until just recently, I had never played Death of the Outsider, and it really is a fantastic game. I mean, obviously, it's your classic Dishonored experience with a few twists, such as different abilities, as well as the fact that the mana bar automatically refills all the way, so you don't have to do any searching for those Adamire solutions that you had to find in previous games in the series. And without spoiling anything, it's got a really good story as well. I'd say it's right up there with Dishonored 2 for my favorite game in the series. So if you enjoyed the Dishonored series but haven't yet hopped into Death of the Outsider, there's no better time than right now, especially considering the fact that it's FPS boosted to 60 FPS on both Series X and Series S. And at number 4 on my list is Mass Effect Legendary Edition, and this one's a bit tricky. You see, I never played Mass Effect games back in the day, so I'm experiencing this whole trilogy for the first time. And since this is technically 3 games in one, I can't really say that all 3 games are at number 4 for me, so I suppose if I had to choose one, it would be Mass Effect 1. Obviously, out of the 3 games, the first one's combat leaves quite a bit to be desired, but I just think that the storytelling and the characters you meet along the way are some of the best in gaming history, and I just think the way that the game ends is one of the best endings in a game, period. And that's not to say anything bad about Mass Effect 2, because I think Mass Effect 2 is right up there behind it. But for me personally, Mass Effect 1 takes the cake, and in fact, I enjoyed the first two so much that I've been afraid to beat Mass Effect 3 because I don't want the story to end, but I promise you I will power through those feelings and beat Mass Effect 3. But now we're on to number 3 on my list, and that's gonna be Plague Tale. I missed out on this game at its launch, but seeing the announcement for the sequel during Xbox's E3 show really intrigued me, and then I saw that there was a next-gen update for the game, so I decided to give it a proper shot, and I haven't been disappointed. And I'm actually in the process of beating this game right now. I feel like I'm very close to the end of this game, and I'll probably have it finished by the time this video comes out. It's a wonderfully told story that is well worth experiencing if you haven't already. The one thing I'll be interested to see for the sequel is whether or not it'll be more combat focused, but in this one it's more about avoiding confrontation at all costs. I mean, it'll give you ways to take out enemies if you absolutely need to, but your best bet is to completely avoid being detected. So it'll be interesting to see what Asobo does with what I'm assuming will be a much bigger budget for the sequel. Now we're into the top 2 games on my list, and sitting firmly at number 2 is Forza Horizon 5. Now I had high hopes and expectations for Forza Horizon 5, and just about every single one of those hopes and expectations was exceeded. It keeps the classic Horizon formula but makes additions where necessary. I think one of my favorite new additions is probably the fact that we now have drift tires in Forza Horizon, which is something I've been wanting since Horizon 2, so it's definitely nice to see them finally make the cut for this game. But we can't talk about Forza Horizon 5 without mentioning how damn impressive the game looks. I mean, I play it strictly in performance mode on both my Series X and Series S, and both consoles offer an amazing looking game. And as you'd expect, Mexico offers a more lush color palette with more diverse terrain than ever before in Forza Horizon. This is not only Playground Games' best game to date, but I think it might just be one of my favorite racing games of all time. Right up there with Need for Speed Underground 2 and Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition. And seeing Playground at their peak right now has me incredibly excited to see their take on Fable. And now we're at the top of my list, and the best game that I've played this year in 2021 is hands down Halo Infinite. And I'm sure if you followed my channel leading up to Halo Infinite's launch and after its release, you probably aren't too surprised to hear this. And I'll keep this summary short because I've already got a pretty extensive review on Halo Infinite right here on the channel. And I'll be sure to link that in the description below if you're interested in checking that out. But long story short, I think Halo Infinite has the best feeling gameplay in the entire Halo series, which is something that I would have never expected to say when this game was announced after seeing what was done with Halo 5. Its story and the pacing mixed with its characters and dialogue are the best we've seen in a 343 made Halo game, and some of the best I've ever seen in a Halo game, period. It's fantastic to see equipment make a return into the sandbox, and the addition of the grapple shot might be the best new addition to a Halo game of all time, quite honestly. I really can't recommend this game enough. If you're a fan of FPS games in general, or you just miss those quality arena-based shooters that a lot of us grew up on in the 2000s, 343 nailed it with this game, and I'm incredibly happy to be able to say that. But that wraps up my top 5 games I've played this year and brings the video to a close. But what about you guys? What's your top 5 games you've played this year? Leave a comment below and let me know what you're thinking. Leave a like if you like the video, and please remember to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell if you're enjoying the content and want to stay up to date on all my latest videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.